Well, hello there, and welcome to Trending Now, the podcast, episode 6 of the podcast. Making sure I get that right this time around. Louis Butko here with you as we recap the biggest stories in the week that was on Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m., and then again at 11:30 on CHCH and across our YouTube channel as well, and streaming live at chch.com. I want to get right into one of the biggest stories of the week on Monday, and then again today as well, as we got new developments, and that is the Pride jerseys in the NHL. And I'm very pleased now to be joined by the producer of Trending Now, Laura Sebben. And Laura, I just want to get a little bit of background. All year, several high-profile players have refused to wear Pride-themed practice jerseys, warm-up jerseys, but it wasn't until San Jose Sharks goalie James Reimer refused over the weekend that none had bothered to explain themselves. James Reimer released a statement ahead of time saying, quote, "I am choosing not to endorse something that is counter to my personal convictions, which are based on the Bible, the highest authority in life." He doesn't say my life, he just says in life. Adding that he always strives to treat everyone with respect and that members of the LGBTQ community should be welcome in hockey. You have a problem with that statement?
I do have a problem with that statement because it doesn't make any sense.
It's so counterintuitive, it sounds. It's my own personal convictions, which are based on the Bible, the highest authority in life. First of all, he was the only player not to do it.
On that team, yes.
On that team. Other players have since. Ivan Provorov became the first player declining, citing his Russian Orthodox beliefs. Mm-hmm. The New York Rangers, the Minnesota Wild reneged on their plans to do that. It's not a great look for anybody. It's specifically not a great look for the NHL as a whole. When you want to say that everyone is welcome here,
but some players say
I'm refusing to wear this shirt.
Some players say no. And yes, you can make that choice. I think what the issue is you can't simultaneously say, I'm making this choice not to wear this jersey because of my faith, and then also say, but everybody's welcome. Because those two statements can't be true at the same time. If you are refusing to wear something because you say it runs counter to your beliefs, and then following that up with saying, but every person has value and they're welcome, then why can't you wear the jersey?
Mark Stahl and Eric Stahl, they play for the Florida Panthers. They're a pair of brothers from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Eric Stahl will likely be in the Hall of Fame one day, and they released a statement before the game last night, a game in which the Panthers, everybody except these two who didn't take warm-up, wore Pride jerseys. The team tweeted about it, and they said, after many thoughts, prayers, and discussions, we have chosen not to wear a Pride jersey tonight. We carry no judgment on how people choose to live their lives and believe that all people should be welcome in all aspects of the game of hockey. Having said that,
it's so dumb.
What a BS thing to throw. But you're basically arguing everything you just said in your previous statement.
Exactly.
Having said that, we feel that by us wearing a Pride jersey, it goes against our Christian beliefs.
Yeah, so if you can't even so much as don a Pride jersey for like 30 minutes just to show the LGBTQ community that they're welcome in the same arena that you play in, then you can't say, but I value you all and we respect every person, because that can't be true. It cannot be true.
There seems to be a lack of leadership. Gary Bettman is the commissioner of the NHL, and he said the Boycats were not about accepting bigotry, saying, quote, "Whether or not you choose to embrace and make a statement on behalf of a cause affirmatively, if you choose not to do that, it doesn't necessarily make you a bigot. I'm sure you don't endorse every single charity that solicits you, and you don't participate in every social cause. You pick and choose the ones that are important to you."
So then you could argue the same thing. If he's saying choosing not to wear, if Gary Bettman wants to say choosing not to wear the Pride jersey doesn't make you a bigot, then you could reverse it and say choosing to wear the Pride jersey doesn't necessarily mean you're going against your faith or your whatever you want to call your reason for not wearing it, which is what Brian Burke said.
Yeah.
And I feel like if anyone in the NHL is going to have an authority on that, it's him.
Yeah, of course. Brian Burke, he's a huge part of the You Can Play movement that started years ago, and I feel like there's still work to do. And then you have Luke Prokop, who was the first NHL player signed to a contract. He's not an NHL player, he's a prospect, but the first player signed to an NHL contract. He came out as gay, and he called the Pride Night incidents a step back for hockey, saying, quote, everyone is entitled to their own sets of belief. I think it's important to recognize the difference between endorsing a community and respecting individuals within it.
Exactly.
Pride Nights are an essential step toward fostering greater acceptance and understanding in hockey, and I strongly believe that prioritizing diversity and inclusion, we can create an environment where every player feels comfortable bringing their authentic selves to the game. As someone who aspires to play in the NHL one day, I would want to enter the locker room knowing I can share all parts of my identity with my teammates.
Well, because you have to think, too, it's exactly like what he's saying. Like, as any member of the LGBTQ community, if you're seeing the players that you look up to and the players that you watch wearing a Pride jersey, you're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this person, I don't have to be like afraid to come into this building. And hearing that from a person I look up to is huge. But when you see them not wearing it, but then being like, but don't worry, I respect you. It's hard to marry both of those things together.
What's the solution?
I don't really think there is one. It's hard because, as we're saying, it is a personal choice. I just think if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Like, do what Ivan Provorov did and just don't say why. Yeah. Or just say, my Russian faith.
It got out, though. I mean, it's going to get out.
It is. Well, okay, it's going to get out. Just say my faith. Like, I think that's what my issue is, trying to rectify you not believing that LGBTQ people have the same rights or are as important as your people with saying, but I love everybody, because it doesn't mean the same thing.
It is a rainbow on a T-shirt.
I know. It's
right?
really not
I mean,
that
it's
serious.
not. And that's what Brian Burke said. We mentioned him earlier. So I wish players would understand that the Pride sweaters are about inclusion and welcoming everybody. Playing wearing Pride colors or tape isn't endorsing a set of values or enlisting in a cause. He's saying you are welcome here, and you are in every single NHL building.
Yeah. And I think going back to the catalyst for all this, James Reimer, he kind of put his foot in his mouth after the game when he talked about it by bringing up Nazem Kadri and saying, like, he's Muslim and you can ask him. I never treated him differently, but if we were having a Muslim Pride Night, I wouldn't put on a Muslim jersey. It's like, do you see how dumb it sounds when he says it about that thing?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, my thing. So Pierre LeBrun, Scott Stinson in the National Post, they've written some really good things about this. And Pierre LeBrun was actually at something called the Alphabet Collective. They launched. It's part of Alphabet Sports Collection. It was co-founded by Brock McGillis and Bain Pettinger, who's actually an agent, openly gay as well. Mm-hmm. And he makes a great point. He says, for those who argue we shouldn't mix politics with sport, this isn't politics. This is saying everyone is welcome in hockey society. That's not politics. Sorry. No. That's human decency.
No, it's not. It's not politics. People being allowed to live their lives freely is not a political thing. It's a right that everybody is granted in our society. So it's not political. And the only reason why it is political is because lawmakers bring religion into politics, and religion also has no place in politics. So
okay, well, that I was going to get to this later on in the show, but I mean, this was Manisa's story from yesterday,
in Uganda,
right? And like, I'm not saying that's the slippery slope that we're on, but we're talking about Florida expanding the "Don't Say Gay" bill that used
banning
to be
drag shows in the U.S.
I mean, like, where does it end? I mean, I'm not saying, hey, this guy's not wearing a jersey. But if people feel emboldened to not hide behind religion, but to use their religion like this, I think it's a deeper conversation. But I mean,
sure.
It is something that it's not going away. And I feel like NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman could have made a bigger deal. Because, I mean, I'm going to remember this season, because nobody talked about this. Pride Nights have been going on for years. Yeah. And this hasn't been an issue until this season. And then you got the commissioner who's saying, it doesn't necessarily make you a bigot. Okay, but doesn't not.
Why has it not been an issue until now? And that, it goes to what you're saying. Like, is it a slippery slope? It is a little bit, because in the last year, we've seen lawmakers in the U.S. make these laws that are anti-LGBTQ. And so when you see people speaking out about it at a high level, it gives more people the ability to say, well, now I want to talk about it. And so I think that's why we're seeing this happening, is because there has been an anti-gay rhetoric growing in the United States, and people are feeling comfortable talking about it now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's not going anywhere. By the way, the Edmonton Oilers said they're looking forward to celebrating Pride Night. The Buffalo Sabres, a team to watch in the next week or so. Their Pride Night scheduled for 1 week from tonight. So we'll see if anything happens there. What else stood out to you this week? Anything? I mean, because I got lots to get to. I got Putin and Xi.
Yeah, you got more people to talk to,
I got
so don't
TikTok,
worry about me.
I got Trump arrested. Yeah, all right. You got stuff to do, actually.
I do.
Okay, we'll let you get out of here. Laura Sebben, producer of Trending Now. I didn't even get to the Hailey Bieber stuff, but...
That's okay. That's okay.
Your thoughts, real quick. Hailey Bieber, Selena Gomez...
I think it's funny. Selena Gomez came to her defense before her own husband did. That's all I'll say.
All right, Sebs, get back to work.
Thanks.
And my thanks to Laura Sebben, producer of Trending Now, for joining me. And we're going to stick with hockey because earlier this week, the NHL announced they got a new deal with Fanatics. And the man who was on top of this, Matt Ingraham, who was actually on Trending Now this week, which was great to see.
Yeah,
it was great to see a different face on Trending Now. No offense to Manisa.
No,
but,
it's all good, but it's something new for me. It's been fun. And I got to do an NHL story. Who doesn't like getting paid to talk about hockey?
You went to Brock University to find a professor
I didn't even have
sport
to
management.
go. The guy just Zoomed with me. It was fantastic. No drive down the Parkway.
Oh, New Jersey. What is people's issues with these jerseys?
All right, so apparently, and I looked in my closet first thing in the morning when I got the email that I was doing this. I looked in my closet, sure, and on my Leafs jersey, it's a Fanatics jersey.
Yeah.
I have not experienced this personally, but on social media and what I heard from this expert at Brock is that Fanatics, the quality of their merchandise, I guess, is not up to par, says some people. The professor, he had an interesting comment. It's actually part of the business model. Fanatics is hoping that the stuff wears out so that you buy more. He said they know people are going to buy more, so they're capitalizing on that.
The one thing about, like, I've obviously heard about this deal with Fanatics before, but they've also, the official jerseys have been Adidas the last few years.
That's right. Yeah, it's been Adidas.
Okay, so Fanatics has been making...
So Fanatics has made, like, the replica jersey. So that's, like, the stuff you get, like, for the fans. It's the fan stuff. So what's different now is that they're also going to be making all the on-ice official jerseys. And, I mean, look, I don't know what the difference in quality is. I can tell you there's a difference in price.
Yeah.
One of those authentic jerseys from Adidas, they go for about $280 plus tax. So Fanatics, if they are able to deliver a jersey at a lower price point, this was one of the things my expert told me, that might be a good thing for regular fans or guys trying to buy it for their kids.
Well, and I mean, I've known about this Fanatics deal. I've bought 3 jerseys maybe in the last 5 years, but they've all been authentic. Like, I know, like, I get what I pay for. I've heard about these stories about Fanatics, and you get what you pay for. And Professor McKee, who you spoke to, Taylor at Brock University, he says that this could possibly help make jerseys more affordable, though?
He says that, but at the same time, he says his belief deep down is that these authentic jerseys, they're probably going to be the same price point. Because, I mean, like, look, if they already know that fans are willing to pay near $300 for an authentic jersey, I don't think out of the kindness of their hearts, they're just going to lower the price. Maybe.
But you get what you pay for.
That's
so,
true.
like, if you are buying a jersey for $100, you shouldn't expect it to be the official on ice. I mean, it's kind of buyer beware at that point.
100%, you know. And I mean, like, myself, you know, I only throw them on my Leafs jersey, you know, when I'm watching hockey or going to the bar to watch a game. It's not something I'm wearing day in, day out. But I guess, you know, for people who buy this stuff and they want to wear it day in, day out, there has been some disappointment.
What's your theory on adults wearing jerseys? How do you feel about it?
Look, man.
How do you feel about
time
it?
and a place. Time and a place.
Okay, so...
First date, no. Don't show up in your Blue Jays jersey. If you're taking your kid to the Ticats, rep that black and gold. Yeah. On your own... I don't know. I mean, if I'm going with a bunch of guys to the game, I think that looks better. You look like a more, you know, mature, functional member of society. But at the same time, I would never, ever say anything negative about a passionate fan who wants to rep the colors day in, day out. You know, sports is a great thing. It connects all of us. If that's what you want to do, go for it.
Well, and I mean, I have too many jerseys than I can count. You know, I was part of a trend. You know, my buddy had a hookup. So we talk about these authentic jerseys. There's some non-authentic jerseys that are quite like you can't really tell the difference. So I got like 3 Canada jerseys from the Olympics, like from 2008 to 2016. They're all Sidney Crosby. But the last 3 jerseys I bought have been Leafs jerseys, and you can only wear one of them at a time anyway.
Well, exactly. You know?
And I just the only time I've ever worn them was games.
Yep.
And I don't know. People are too judgy sometimes about, oh, he's a Jersey guy.
People are judgy. I will say that, I used to have a fair number more, and I sold them off a few years ago because I was like, I got all these nice jerseys. They're just hanging in my closet. Somebody's going to enjoy them. And sure enough, I had an Oilers Gretzky jersey.
Oh.
I put it up on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
It's gone within like a day or so. There is an appetite for jerseys. People love jerseys. So, I mean, hey, this deal could end up being a good thing.
You're working on a pretty cool story for the evening news tonight.
yeah. This is one you got to tune in for. So in Niagara Falls, a dog has been named mayor. Not for real, obviously. Please don't write in and with concerns. That's not a real thing. But look, him and his owner, Pal the dog, and his owner, Mike, they do a lot of good work in the community. They have these social media accounts they use to draw attention to issues, fundraising for a new ultrasound machine for Niagara Falls Hospital for their kidney department. It's a good cause.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned, if you want to raise money for a hospital, just start a Catch the Ace lottery.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I should have told them that. They should have just gone down to Hagersville.
And you survived Budget Day, so it was a big week for you.
Yeah, Budget Day.
Happy Friday.
Happy
You have
Friday.
earned your Friday,
I earned my
friend.
dog story, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you doubled up today. You were at
the
beach.
Yeah. We were at a press conference this morning, Sunset Beach, new money, which
nothing more
for St. Catharines, that's important.
Hey, listen, I am a frequent goer of Sunset Beach, and I know they just put a lot of money into it. With the bathrooms and redoing the parking lot. So $4.4 million. And you said hi to my friend Matt Cisco.
I did.
Yeah.
I encouraged him to be very jovial with you, shall we say, the next time he sees you.
All right. Well,
our good friend Matt Cisco.
I cannot wait for that. I know you're busy, Matt. Ingraham, thanks for doing this.
Thanks very much, Louis.
All right. That's Matt Ingraham. He was on the desk this week, reporting for Trending Now, and you can go. I'm going to keep talking.
Oh, you can keep talking?
Yeah, I'm going to keep talking. I know.
All right.
Matt out. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stories that were making news this week. You had Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping proposal that could be the starting point of conflict resolution for Putin's war of aggression as the president of China visited Moscow for a several-day trip. He said after talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, that was earlier this week, Chinese proposals could be used as the basis of a peace settlement in Ukraine, but that it's the West and Kyiv who are not yet ready. Putin said in a statement, of course, we did not ignore the situation around Ukraine. We believe that many of the provisions of the peace plan put forward by China are in agreement with Russian approaches and can be taken as the basis for a peaceful settlement when they are ready for that in the West and in Kyiv. However, we see no such readiness from their side. Meanwhile, the United States has been dismissive of the Chinese proposal, given that Beijing's refusal to condemn Russia over Ukraine, and says a ceasefire now would lock in Russian territorial gains and give Putin's army more time to regroup. Kyiv, meanwhile, has welcomed China's diplomatic involvement, but says Russia must pull its troops out of Ukraine and has stressed the importance of Ukraine's territorial integrity. And the Chinese leader's visit was just days after an international court issued an arrest warrant for Putin over Russia's action in Ukraine. Also making headlines this week.
These 4 horrible, radical left Democrat investigations of your all-time favorite president, me, is just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt.
Trump arrested? Well, despite the fact that on Saturday he said he was about to be arrested, he was not and has not been arrested. It did ignite some preemptive backlash as he made the theoretical prospect of an ex-president and a 2024 candidate being criminally charged appear much more real. He's currently facing multiple investigations, but this one is over an alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Well, a grand jury process appears to be in its final stages, and Trump's legal team has been preparing for the possibility of an indictment and asking the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to call lawyer Bob Costello, who did, as he testified before the grand jury in what could contradict government witness Michael Cohen's prior testimony. The thing is, if you follow Trump on Truth Social, which is the only social media that he posts on, and he also owns Truth Social. I don't have an account, But his rhetoric is getting more and more dangerous. Over the last weekend, he called for his loyalists to, quote, protest, take our nation back, which is one thing to say, but at the same time, we all remember what happened January 6th. Last night at 1:08 a.m., Donald Trump on Truth Social wrote, "What kind of person can charge another person, in this case, a former president of the United States who got more votes than any sitting president in history and leading candidate brackets by far for the Republican Party nomination, with a crime when it is known by all that no crime has been committed, and also known that potential death and destruction in such a false charge could be catastrophic for our country? Who and why would do such? Why and who would do such a thing? Only a degenerate psychopath that truly hates the USA." That was Donald Trump last night at 1:08 a.m.
The clock is ticking on Donald Trump. Trump's lawyers have reportedly told him that if he gets indicted in New York, he should be prepared to lose the case, which means he'll spend the next 3 years claiming he won the case. This is, we are now on day 3 of To Catch a President. He said he would be arrested on Tuesday. He's also using this to raise money. In fact, since he announced his imminent arrest on Saturday, his campaign has raked in more than $1.5 million in donations, which is a lot of money. $1.5 million, that's almost enough to, 12 more porn stars you could pay off for that much money.
This story obviously not going anywhere. The indictment hasn't happened yet. And Kelly was joined earlier this week by expert on American political culture, Dr. Henry Giroux. And Kelly asked whether or not these legal troubles impact Trump's bid for a second term.
I think there's a good chance they will. I mean, we can talk about impact in 2 ways. One is Trump, of course, is going to turn this into a circus in which he's going to do everything he can to sort of arouse his supporters to make it appear as if, once again, he's a victim, and, of course, turn this into theater. The other side of this is, I think it will impact. I mean, I think increasingly it adds more legitimacy to a whole range of accusations that are being waged, legal accusations being waged against Trump, that he's increasingly going to have to deal with outside of simply this case. And my sense is that that will just be the beginning of a series of indictments that is certainly going to in some way affect, I would think, not his hardcore supporters, but those people who are wavering around his legitimacy as a potential candidate for the presidency.
Speaking of Trump's supporters, members of the GOP are rallying behind Trump online, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that this whole ordeal is just political. Is that true, or would the same process take place if a former Democratic president did the same thing?
The GOP is now headed by a group of right-wing white supremacists who basically are election deniers, absolutely refuse to take any responsibility for what they've done to the country and what they say about the country, and their refusal to deal with questions of legality and justice. I don't take anything they say seriously. I would argue that they're a threat to democracy, and they represent an extremist element of the Republican Party that in some way we've seen echoes of the past in with respect to what we saw going on in Germany and Italy in the 1930s.
Walk us through what happens if Trump does get indicted. What happens next?
Well, if he gets indicted, then clearly there'll be a jury trial that he'll have to face. My sense is he'll do everything he can with the group of lawyers that surround him to simply delay this as much as possible. His tactic is performance, theater, and delay. So I'm not sure where to go from there. It'll eventually, of course, he'll eventually end up in court if he's indicted. It's just a matter of how much time it will take. But I think if he's indicted, there's a good chance that he'll lose that case.
And that was American political culture expert Dr. Henry Giroux as he joined Kelly Botelho, who, of course, is hosting Trending Now for Nicole Martin, who's on maternity leave. Did you see Nicole's baby with the little St. Patrick's Day?
The cutest thing I've ever seen.
My gosh.
She is an Irish princess.
Isn't she? Oh, I just love the little...
So adorable.
My sister has a child the same age, kind of like 3 months
really?
now, and we're getting like the daily updates, and like he can hold his head up now.
Aww.
And it's a big deal, and but his head is so heavy he can also roll over, so it's just like gravity that takes him.
Yeah.
What stood out to you this week? I know something happened with the federal minimum wage.
Yeah, so the federal minimum wage went up. which is good. But it's not the majority of workers that will be impacted by that. So the federal minimum wage went up $1.10 to $16.65. And federal government said that they're doing that because of inflation, of course.
Well, it's a dollar. $1.10,
yeah.
$1.10. 6.8% though was the consumer price index. That's how much it rose.
Yeah.
It's not affecting everybody though.
That's right, yeah. So each province and territory has their own minimum wage, and the provincial government sets that, and that really impacts the majority of workers. What I found interesting when I was doing this story was looking at the minimum wages across Canada, and the province or territory with the highest minimum wage is none of it. None of its minimum wage right now is $16 per hour. But if you look at how much food costs in none of it, I mean, $16. So I found this this organization, I guess, that keeps track of absurd food prices in Canada's north, and they kind of poke fun at it. It's not funny, but they kind of do it in a comical way. Yeah. And somebody had taken a picture of a can of Chef Boyardee pasta. One can, $16.19, I believe. Yeah. So somebody, none of it, would have to work over an hour to afford a can of pasta, which is crazy.
It's 26,000 people will be affected by this. And like you said, it's on the government, the provincial government, to set provincial minimum wage for other industries. But I mean, it's still good to see that somebody's doing something, and we all know life's getting more expensive.
And I talked to somebody about I talked to an expert on living wage, which is different than minimum wage. It's calculated differently across Canada. It's based on people's expenses and what their wage should be if they were to live comfortably, to live average, but not have to work 3 jobs. And it's higher than that. Like I think in Hamilton, he said it was over $19. So, and that's not living luxuriously. That's paying your bills and maybe doing something fun on the weekend.
Speaking of fun on the weekend, it's been a long week. How are you relaxing?
Well, we actually finished renovations in our house.
Oh, that's exciting.
So yeah, it's actually all complete now. It's only been it went pretty fast. It was only a couple months, but anyways, we're having our families over to kind of check out the place and have a little party. So
are you expecting positive feedback, or is your family the kind of family that will be like, well, you did this, but I would have done it this way?
No, they better give us positive feedback.
Yeah.
We spent too much time and money for negative feedback, so they won't be doing that.
Yeah. No comments from the peanut gallery on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you got a lot of stuff going on today. Today's a very busy day. Today's show, you're focused on unrest in France still, and a historic visit from Joe Biden. So get back to work.
Okay. Thanks,
all right.
Louis.
Thanks for doing that. That's Kelly Botelho, of course, the host of Trending Now.
Bye.
And my thanks to Kelly Botelho for joining me on today's show, as always. A couple more things I want to get to before we go. We mentioned this a little bit with Laura Sebben off the top, but Uganda introduced a new anti-gay law that people from around the world, activists, government officials, are saying it is the harshest penalties in the world that target members of the LGBTQ community. Legislation which passed this week includes life imprisonment for homosexuality, jail terms of up to 20 years for those promoting LGBTQ rights, and the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality, such as having sex while being HIV positive. Members in Uganda's parliament were cheering and singing after passing what's being called the harshest piece of legislation against gay people in the world.
We are making this law for ourselves. We are making this law for our children. We are making this law for the children of our children. This country will stand firm. And once it passed, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we are going to reinforce the law enforcement officers to make sure that homosexuals have no space in Uganda.
It would also require friends, family, and members of the community to report anyone who's having same-sex relationships to authorities, or else they could be fined. Activists say the bill is vague, discriminatory, obviously, and if it's made into law, it could have severe repercussions including inciting violence and turning people against each other. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights says the bill confuses consensual and non-consensual relationships. The U.S. is urging Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to block the legislation, or the country could face economic repercussions.
And that would be really unfortunate because so much of the economic assistance that we provide Uganda is health assistance, and largely through PEPFAR.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the legislation appalling, abhorrent, and he's urging Ugandan lawmakers to reconsider it. And he also added that he's considering options to support the LGBTQ community in Uganda. The decision to make the bill law is now up to the country's president. And according to reports, he's made a number of anti-gay comments recently and criticized Western countries for putting pressure on them over the issues. Many organizations hoping that it gets eradicated. But again, Uganda, I know we talked about this off the top, people using their Christianity to defend their abhorrent views on LGBTQ. Uganda is 86% Christian. That is the breakdown of religion in that country. So, yeah, sad times, I guess, in Uganda. Because, that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. We'll see where this goes because, they do receive a lot of support, and we'll see if that still comes if this law is passed. And before we go, want to get to this. We've talked about this throughout the show multiple times, but the TikTok drama that's still ongoing. Well, this week wrote a new chapter as Shou Chu, he's the CEO of TikTok. He went to the U.S. Capitol. He testified in front of Congress. Before he started, he said he had a plan to make 4 commitments.
We're going to prioritize safety, particularly for teenagers, and we're going to keep it a top priority for us. Second, we're going to firewall off protected U.S. data from any unwanted foreign access. 3, we commit to keep TikTok free, a free place for freedom of expression without any manipulation by any government. And 4th, we are committing to transparency, and we're committing to third-party monitoring. We'll give them access to keep us accountable.
Despite those commitments, he was met with hostility from lawmakers who believe that TikTok has a sinister motive. Of course, it is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, and many American politicians fear China could use the platform to spy. Hearing is coming at a crucial moment for TikTok as the Biden administration is facing growing pressure from lawmakers to ban the app in the country for national security concerns. And one of their main concerns, that being Washington, is that is because of its Chinese ownership, Beijing could use its propaganda and censorship methods on TikTok too. I mean, here's the thing. There isn't actually any TikTok in China. China has a similar app called Douyin, in that it has more government censorship and age restrictions. Today, politicians were accusing TikTok of serving harmful content and inflicting emotional distress on young users. Chu said while the vast majority of TikTok users are over the age of 18, the company has invested in measures to protect young people who use their apps. And just this week, also, the governor of Utah signing 2 new bills into law that ban the use of TikTok between 10:30 and 6 a.m., and you need explicit parental or guardian consent to sign up for TikTok. Apps and social media have been around forever. I heard one woman who was leading this congressional appearance say that it's encouraging children to do dangerous challenges, and I'm going to put it out there. I know you can't protect your kids from everything, but there is a certain level of parental guidance that are needed when it comes to TikTok and apps and what kids are doing on the internet. And I understand it's got to be 1,000% more difficult than likely when parents were growing up and you had to dial in to the internet as opposed to having it in the palm of your hand. But at the same time, you need to talk to your kids about what's on the internet and what's out there and staying safe. But again, this TikTok story, I think we've mentioned TikTok. Was this episode 6 of the podcast? I think we've mentioned TikTok almost every show, whether it's the Canadian government banning it on phones. Use in moderation, people. Use in moderation. I deleted TikTok off my phone because I realized I was developing a thumb injury just from scrolling, but I found other ways to pass the time, like Candy Crush. That's also a fun game you can play on the internet that might not melt your brain. That'll do it for us this week. Thank you for checking in. Remember, you can always find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Like, subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you've missed any of our previous episodes, well, they're all here. All 5 previous episodes, and now this one. Wherever you get your favorite podcasts, make sure to, again, like and subscribe so you never miss a single one. That'll do it for us this week. Make sure to catch Trending Now every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. on CHCH. We're back next week. We'll talk to you then. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louis Butko. Hoping you have a great weekend.